Are you struggling to make your first 100K or next? Are you pretending you're successful but barely getting by? Are you tired of comparing yourself to millionaires and billionaires who make it look so easy? Welcome to First 100K, the #1 entrepreneur voice in America. I talk about the important things that no one else is talking about, like how to make your first $100,000, because I believe this is where 90% of entrepreneurs get stuck. And I tackle the mental game of entrepreneurship that we all secretly struggle with but won't admit. My guests are successful entrepreneurs who share their mistakes, their #1 fears, their daily habits, and their superpowers that push them over the 100K mark. I'm your host, your coach, your friend, Joseph Warren. I'm also a 10-time failed entrepreneur and the owner of 2 co-working spaces here in Tampa, Florida. This show was created for you, the entrepreneur who's pushing to break through the elusive 100K milestone. Wherever you are in your business, you're just 100K away. Today, my featured guest is Kris Ward. She is the leading authority in building your business by building your team. Now, Kris is the founder of Win the Hour, Win the Day philosophy. She helps entrepreneurs like you create their win team, what is next team, so that you can get your idea to implementation and make your ambitions come alive. It's more than just fancy words, Startup Nation. Now, after the loss of her husband, Kris returned full-time to her work as a marketing strategist. She was thrilled to see that her business had not only survived her absence, but was thriving. Now, Kris has completely changed the landscape for entrepreneurs by sharing the successful practices that allowed her absence from her business. Kris has been interviewed by one of the original sharks from Shark Tank, a mutual friend, Kevin Harrington, and ABC's The Secret Millionaire, James Malinchak. She has been featured on award-winning podcast, radio, and TV shows. She is an author, a podcast host herself, and she's the team building and systems strategist. You can find her at winthehourwintheday.com. It's also the title of her book, Win the Hour, wintheday.com. Kris Ward, welcome to your first 100K podcast, top 100 podcasts on iTunes for entrepreneurship. Go ahead and fill in some of the gaps in that intro, would you?
Well, Joseph, I think you did a fabulous job. I might just hit record and use that for everything there moving forward. So yeah, great job. So I don't think there's a lot of gaps. I think what happened to fill the story a little bit is my absence when I was away with my husband. My existing clients and the local business community, my friends, did not know what was going on. I didn't feel it was good for business. And I had a very positive approach to how we were navigating his journey with his illness. So when I returned, it was a shock to everybody. And so then they started asking me, like, how did I do it? And that, they're working crazy hours and all these things. How did I manage 2 large responsibilities? So I started working with my existing clients under the capacity of team building. And that's how it all started.
Why team building? Why is that so important? But before we get that answer, go ahead and share something very personal about you that very few people in your business life actually know.
Let's see, personal. Very few people know that I am fluent in sign language. There you go.
So Startup Nation, she gave me the bird earlier. I'm kidding. She flipped me the bird, sign language. No. So Kris, that's awesome. Sign language. Why is team so important? Why is that important to removing yourself from the business? And now Startup Nation, I know that question sounds so simplistic. I get it. But here's the problem. You're not doing it. Okay. You're not leveraging your team in your business. And many of you don't have a team to leverage in your business. That's also the problem. So Kris is going to share with us today how she did it, where she was able to step out of her business as she went through that grieving time, losing her husband, and come back not to a business that was less than before, but a business that was more, that was thriving, and how you can do it too. So Kris, go ahead and take it from there as far as teamwork.
Yeah, well, Joseph, it's just without a team, you really don't have a business. You're what I call a sufferpreneur, right? You're a solopreneur just suffering. So to me, it's the equivalent of sitting on the couch watching sports, calling yourself an athlete. So you cannot execute, scale, or do anything without a team. And anything done in the history of time, but especially business, they had a team, right? It's getting ideas to implementation. So when you look at somebody that you maybe have a professional jealousy, or you think, I got to work harder, do more, and they're doing this, they're doing that. All they're doing, they're not smarter than you in any capacity. All they're doing is getting ideas to implementation. And you cannot do that without a team. You just can't. There's so many examples. We see this all the time with, if you were gonna, let's say you were a tradesperson and you could do the electric and you could do the plumbing and you could do all that stuff to build a house, it would take you 3 years. But when you have a team and you bring all these trades in complementing each other's work, you can have a house up in 6 weeks. And yet for somehow we don't translate that to our business. And I think it's because so many people think it's complicated, it's difficult, it's expensive. And we just live in a magical time right now, with outsourcing and stuff, that you can absolutely 100% afford it. And it's not difficult to do, but it is strategic. It's called what I call creating systems, saving yourself stress, time, energy, money. And without that backbone, without, in our business, what we call toolkits, and we're teaching our clients and stuff, the toolkits, without these practices in play, you just never get more and more efficient. And what happens, my clients say, it's always like a new project. You're, oh, right, 3 months ago when we did that, we forgot this and we forgot that. And it's always a new project. So I believe that your business should support your life, not consume it. And I believe you should start your day refreshed and leave fresh.
Startup Nation, does that sound good to you? Is your business sucking the life out of you, out of your family? Or is it contributing? Is it filling you up every day? Like, if it's not, that might be something just to stop, pause, check, assess. Is that what you want to continue? If you want more than that, you want your business to truly support you, I'm going to get Kris's top 3 tips and strategies as far as how to systemize your business in just a few minutes. They're going to be practical. They're going to be tactical. They're going to be easy to implement this week in your business. They don't have to be costly, but they can really double, triple, quadruple your sales, your income, your impact. Now, Kris, you paid me a very kind compliment when you came on earlier. And it was around systems and processes, wasn't it?
It was.
What did you like? And this isn't to pat my back, Startup Nation. This is, I ran into a pain point when it came to podcasting. Scheduling guests to be on my show became this time-consuming suck out of my life. And it would take 5 to 10 or 15 emails back and forth to schedule one guest to appear on one episode. And I was like, this isn't working. This is not a workable strategy long-term. This will zap my energy and make me not want to show up and do the show. So because of that, I said, okay, what's a new possibility I could create around this? And I got really clear on how much time I wanted to spend scheduling my show. Now my entire process is automated to the point where I work pretty much 2 to 3 hours a week on 2 top 100 podcasts, which blows away a lot of other podcast hosts' minds because they spend a lot more time than that doing that. Now, I'm not the best show out there, but it's a good show. You're getting value out of it, right, Startup Nation? But I systemized it. You could do the same thing with almost any part of your business. You could systemize it with processes and systems. Kris, go ahead and just share that experience. What was that experience like for you coming onto the show?
Well, listen, I take great pride in our systems, and we look at things. I tell people all the time, toolkits are a breathing, dynamic thing that are always going to improve. So everything we do, we're always looking at 5 steps. Can they turn into 3? Can they turn into 2? So, I get a lot of compliments from my processes, from my toolkit. So when I got yours, I was like, it was so good. I was like, oh, I'm so annoyed at myself. So there was just, some things in play that were so simple and so profound. And one, I'm just so ashamed of myself. I didn't think of it sooner, but even just having guests fed into you where you're like, you want to be on the show, then you have to recommend and introduce somebody else. And the profoundness of that is we know like-minded people are connected to like-minded people. So we know that if you really enjoyed that guest, when she recommends or he recommends somebody to you, you're going to go, great. He or she was here. They know the quality of what I'm looking for, and I enjoyed them. So, just even that extra step of having it fed into you, new relationships, I was just so impressed, annoyed, and jealous at the same time.
That's so cool. Thank you for that. And Startup Nation, I have an inbox full. There's over 100 unread emails right now, and there are people pitching to come on the show. And I'm flattered by that, right? It wasn't that way year one. I'll tell you that. I was pitching people to come on the show. Now they're pitching me. They're hiring agencies. They're spending thousands of dollars to get introduced to come on the show, right? So I do warm introductions now through my guests. Just as Kris said, it's like-minded people. Mm-hmm. I don't have to spend time researching all my guests anymore. I know that like attracts like. So if I really like a guest, I'm going to ask them for a few referrals, and I'm going to get a few more humans just like them on my show. It's a really cool way to do it. So, Kris, thanks for saying that. All right, let's get into your top 3 tips or strategies for Startup Nation to really scale, systemize, put processes in place in their business. Let's look at sales first. Now, actually, before sales, let's take this. I'm going to put you on the spot if that's okay with your permission.
Sure.
Yes? Okay. So, let's start with marketing. Okay. Because you can't get a sale until you market and get some visibility and people know you actually exist with your product or service and it's right for them. So what could Startup Nation do right now? What's a tactical, practical step they could take, action they can take to systemize their marketing so that they're not having to go in and post every single day on 5 different platforms to hopefully reach, their target audience, but they're not even sure if it's working. I've done it. I dislike it. Other people do it successfully. God bless them. But what's your hack there for Startup Nation?
Okay, so I believe that we live in very much a copy and paste world, and there's a lot of pre and post production, no matter what you're doing. You could be a brain surgeon, there's pre and post admin work. Okay, so anything you do to compress that, and Joseph, you're a phenomenal example of that. We just talked about that. So social media, here's a little hack that we do. So in my team, my social media manager, Hazel, goes in and twice a week, she goes through all different groups I'm in or whatever, LinkedIn, Facebook, all this stuff. And she submits to me a list. And this list might have about 10 things on it. And on those 10 things, there are links. And when I click the link, it goes right to ABC group that says, hey, what's the number one thing that you learned when you wish you knew when you first started your business? And now she knows that's going to be something I can talk about team building, which is really important to me. So then we also have a bunch of canned responses, not that they're lacking warmth, but that you really do say the same thing more or less over and over again, because it's what you do and you've narrowed down your niche audience. So whether you use text expander or you just copy and paste it in a Google document, which is how we started, we have what we call engagement stuffing. So we have a sheet and there's like 10 answers on this category and then 10 answers on another category. And so we just really take a look at that. Now I would go into the link and I might add a sentence or two at the beginning, and then we just copy and paste the response. Like, that's a really great question, which by the way is it's a canned response. I have that already there, but I will read it to make sure, is there any way I can tweak it or say, whatever. And then we just copy and paste. So that is spoon fed to me so that I can go in without having to go into each group every day and scroll through the feed and find stuff that I can respond to and engage. And it's fed to me, narrowed down. And then frankly, there's some that Hazel can just copy and paste herself, but I go in and I try to personalize it. But it's a lot of just copy and pasting. And it takes me about, I would say, 20 minutes. And for the amount of work that's done, we're compressing a couple hours of time to 20 minutes. And it's efficient. And the language is spelled out, so it's powerful. So that's a great ninja trick, I think.
Okay, Startup Nation. So Kris Ward is saying you can copy and paste the things that you repeatedly say to your potential clients.
Yeah.
Or your existing clients. Copy and paste them. Like, what's the thing you keep finding yourself saying 4, 5, 6 times a week?
Yeah.
That's the thing. You could even make a short video with your answer and then post it on the different platform in the group. Kris, that's great. I agree with that. And that could take you from spending 2 to 4 hours responding to these types of posts or uploading these things down to 5 to 10 or 15 minutes of your week. That's a great time saver. All right. Number 2, what about sales? How can we automate or systemize our sales process? Like actually converting those potential clients that DM us, they write back, and we get them on the discovery call. How do we automate that process? What do you got?
Well, automate is a powerful word because, to me, sometimes that automation sounds like you're removing yourself. But what I do want to do is make everything more and more efficient. So it's really about consistency to me. We've all agreed that McDonald's, and maybe I'm alone, but McDonald's does not make the best hamburgers in the world, but they are systematized, right? So what I'm really looking at for is making things consistent and systematized so that not only are they consistent, but when you have a new idea or think we could do this, or, oh, Joseph does this really well, we're going to borrow from that, then you can add it to an existing system that's in play and that you can turn on a dime. Because so for so many entrepreneurs, you guys out there might realize, have had experiences where, and maybe I'm alone, but back in the day, in the beginning, I think, oh, I have this great idea. And then I realized, no, I had that great idea 4 months ago. It just fell off, right? And never got implemented. So I'm now recycling great ideas and thinking they're new ones, right? So I'm all about, how can we make sure this is efficient? So in our sales process, it's going to have, I even have, when I go to make meet with someone and we've got a sales strategy call, whatever, one of the little steps in my process is, I have a sheet with my most powerful sales words, or I might have read a book and I add a few more words to that and I review that before the meeting. So it's always perfecting how I show up for that process, and part of that process may be making sure you're connected to them on all social media platforms before you meet them or doing your homework or whatever, but making sure that it is a process that is efficient consistent and that you can add to, even thanking them with a video, like you said, Joseph, I'll follow up. Hey, thanks so much, blah, blah, blah. Here's my little video. So to me, it's about efficiency and consistency and being able to build upon it.
Very powerful. Startup Nation, here's another little thing you could do in your sales process is your intake form, right? Have them fill out a form to schedule in your calendar.
Mhm.
Many people, many coaches out there I see don't have any questions in their scheduling platform. I have 10. Like you
And
have to answer 10 questions to schedule that call with me. Well, what are the questions telling me before you get on the call? Pretty much everything I need to know about you. Are you the right fit for me? Are we the right fit financially? Are we the right fit with our beliefs? Where are you in your life? What are you challenged by? What are you struggling with right now? Can I actually help you? Like I have all that information before you get on the call with me to discover things together. So immediately that cuts out so much time for me. So you could do the same thing with you. Really leverage whatever your calendar booking system you use, leverage the questions. If it gives you 7 questions max, 10 questions max, use all of them and really get thoughtful. What else do I really want to know or would love to know before I jump on the call with this person? And then come up with a creative question to solicit that information in a non-confrontational way, right? To get very personal with people before you even meet them. So that's just another thought there. What do you think there, Kris?
I
Anything?
think it's a great thought. And I wanted to add to that because we do that as well. And what the example, no matter what your industry or service is, think of it like I was tied into fitness. Obviously, you're into fitness as well, Joseph. And I always say some point in everybody's life, they want to improve their fitness or lose 5 pounds. And so we've all looked at, like, let's say the nutritionist you see on TV, and she can open the fridge and look at it and get a lot of information about our new client by just looking what's in the fridge, right? And we all have those little peek throughs. For me, one of the questions I always ask somebody is, do you have a team? How big is your team? And when somebody responds like, no, I hired somebody once and I don't trust people, I'm like, we are never going to be on the same page. You are not my people. So, it really tells what, oh, I can't afford it because they think it's expensive or whatever. So their answers either tell me it's never going to be a good fit or what pain point they have that, oh, we can so help you with that. So again, Joseph, yes, absolutely. If someone's going to meet with you, they should answer a few questions 100%.
And you know this, right? Booking on the show here, I ask all my guests what their revenue range is in the past 12 months.
Yeah.
And I get that very tight area range because that's very important. I want to know what conversation I'm having with this guest. For example, when a guest answers that they did $100,000 to $500,000 last year, well, that's a certain conversation I'm gonna have with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have another guest that did 250 million last year. You get that's a completely different conversation, right?
Yes, 100%.
And the questions I'm going to ask are going to be completely different, right? So that's a filtering right there, even with one income question as an example. So Startup Nation, don't be shy with your questions. Don't be shy. People actually appreciate when you ask thoughtful questions. They really do. All right, Kris, what's your third tip or strategy for Startup Nation to automate, systemize their life? And I'm going to target it this way. You did the marketing hack, you did the sales hack. Now I'm going to ask you, well, how do you find that team? You said, well, shoot, you could do it now very inexpensively. You could do it with people from all over the world. You can hire VAs, etc. But many entrepreneurs are scared of that because they don't know where to get started. What is a simple hack that they can do this week to build a team around them to support them so that they become kind of like you use the house example or metaphor, building a house. If you did it all yourself, shoot, that could take it. My cousin just built a house from scratch. It took him 3 years.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous home. But he also, he works at NASA and builds space shuttles. He's very gifted. And it took him 3 years. Or unlike my cousin, you could bring in an entire team of different people, contractors, et cetera, and you could be the general contractor that said, here's what I want here. Here's where this goes. This is what I'm looking for. So how do you become the general contractor in your business to really build and scale your business quickly? What do you got for them?
Great question, Joseph. So let me tell you a very quick story about how it all started for me about, I'd say 8-9 years ago. I was, still in my marketing strategist. And what was happening back then, though, I was still doing physical appointments. I switched virtual long before all this pandemic stuff. Even if somebody worked down the street from me, it was just more time efficient to hit a button and go to the next appointment. But about 9 years ago, I was still doing physical appointments. So I would leave the appointment and I'd have my little notes because when you're doing marketing, it's very specific, very, they want a certain strategy, all these details. And I would promise hand to God that when I go back to the office, I would put the notes in the computer, life would be good. What happened more often than not with distractions and busyness is it would not get into the computer that Friday. And sometimes, heaven help me, it would be the next Friday. So when the potential client called, I got the opportunity to be one of two people. I either could set you sound, you could hear me scrambling, trying to read my notes that were meant for 20 minutes. And, maybe I'd mess something up and I looked unprepared, or worse, I might misquote them on something. I look like I'm trying to swindle them when in fact, I just have bad notes that were supposed to last me 20 minutes. So at that point, I found a transcriptionist. And this is all this person wanted to do. She just transcribed, she had like 10 clients, and that was it. So I would leave the meeting, sit in my car, talk on my phone, and it would take me like 30 seconds to read the notes I had with all the detail in the world. Now, some weeks I needed her for 3 or 4 hours of appointments. Some weeks I needed her for none. The weeks I needed her for 3 or 4 hours of appointments, it cost me like $12, which, by the way, because she was so fast and that was her zone of genius. And now you don't even need that. There's automation software. You don't even need a person. It's crazy. But the point of the story is that I started her off like so many other outsourcers out there. You can say, look, I'm new at this and here's what I'm hoping to do. And I've not done this before. So you can start off getting help, whatever capacity you need, as 3-4 hours a week. And you might say, look, I think this is going to grow to 15 hours a week in the next 5 weeks or whatever. You just have the ability to get a talent, a pool globally. But more importantly, there's no big commitment where in the old days, like an employee mindset, never mind you needed to have a desk and a computer and all that stuff. Let's say you wanted to hire somebody who's a video editor for 5 hours a week, but you're like, I can't have them come in for 5 hours a week. Who am I going to get that's available for 5 hours? And there's all these restrictions that make your quality of candidate sort of diminish. So then you say, okay, I'll give them 10 hours and I'll fill the other 5 hours with something that else they can do that's not their zone of genius, and I'm just making work. And that's where it gets diluted, the talent and the efficiency. So with outsourcing, start small. Right? It's not rocket science, but it is strategic, and it is easy when done in a right order. And let me just add you this as well as a final takeaway. If you are asking them to do something, how do I show them? When you're doing whatever you need done, just screen capture it and then send them the 1-minute video and saying, can you do this? Stop and pause and play, and they'll do it. When you're done that, can you write me out a system that we will build upon with the steps that I just showed you? So it's very doable when done strategically, one step at a time.
That's brilliant the way you said that. I remember the first time I hired a transcriptionist for a show that I did, and I wanted to pull content out from client calls actually. And I was like, man, there was gold in that session I just had with the client, but I don't remember everything I said, and I don't want to sit here. That would take me 4 hours to transcribe that show, that 1 hour call. So I went on Fiverr, right? Fiverr.com. And I was like looking for a transcriptionist, and I had to go through a few. And I finally found this one gal. She was so inexpensive. And I was like, let me give it a shot, because her reviews were fantastic. And I hired her and I hit gold with her. She's now my gal for all my transcriptions. I don't even think about it anymore. It cost me $20 for her to transcribe like an hour, 60 minutes of content, which I think is just a steal, because it would take me 4 hours. And what do I charge per hour? I charge $1,000 plus per hour. So that'd be $4,000 I'm spending $20 for. Like, that's a fantastic return on investment, Startup Nation. And it's been an awesome thing. I want to add this caveat. I had another project that was outside the scope of her genius, because she's fantastic at what she does. And I said, hey, can you transcribe this call, but write it in an ebook form, because I want to turn it into an ebook. Right. So I asked her to do creative writing plus transcribing. That wasn't her zone of genius. So she's like, I'll give it a shot. She came back with it. It was not good at all. And it took her like 2 weeks, where normally she responds within 2 or 3 days. I get my thing back. And I quickly learned that lesson. Hire individual people for their specific talent, and then hire someone else for the other thing. Don't ask them to do multiple things that they're not great at. So that was, I just want to put that caveat out for you, Startup Nation. Go ahead, Kris.
Oh, I want to jump on that, because that is so important. That's one of my top things I tell people all the time. You get so invested in when you get this person that's amazing at what they do, and then you sort of look at them like they got a halo and think, well, let's widen the scope. And then it gets diluted and it all kind of unravels. And that is such a powerful point that you made, because that's something I have to address all the time. They are in their zone of genius, and that's great. But I think the last person on the planet to discover a cooking channel, and they've got all these competitions, and you can see such a difference when somebody who is a baker and a cooker, you think, well, cooker, so you can see how much I cook, a chef and a baker, right? And so the point is, you think, oh, it's all the same thing, but it's not. As well, I wanted to add, when you have somebody that's in their zone of genius, they will come to you, because I often tell people that the talent is connected to the tools. So have you heard of Descript, Joseph?
I think I have.
Okay, so Descript, the people who work on my podcast came to me one week and said, "Oh, because this is what they're in this area, this lane, and they'll see things that I'd never see because that's what they're focusing on." So Descript, not only can you take something for you guys out there and dump it in there. I can't remember how much it was, like $50 for the year, and you dump in a transcription. But also, if it's a video, you can right click on when, let's say, your guest says too many times. You can delete that from the transcription and the video. It can say, "Do you want us to take out all these fillers?" You can also, for your voice, change the words, not for the guest. But if you flub a sentence, you can change it and they will borrow from your, and this is starting to get AI scary, but they will borrow from your language and change that sentence. Now, the point of this story for me was I would have never found that, but it was brought to me by my team because that's what they were focusing on. And that was their area, their zone of genius. So it really just expands to serve you in a more and more powerful way.
That's what I love about that. And I haven't tried it personally, but it sounds like you're doing transcription as well as video editing in the same platform, which is a huge time saver because those are completely distinct things. Okay. So Kris, thank you for those top 3 tips and strategies. Those were powerful. Startup Nation. I hope you were taking notes. I was. Don't be smarter than you are. Like, take notes, learn, keep growing. All right. So Kris, you can find Kris Ward at winthehourwintheday.com, winthehourwintheday.com. Kris, welcome to my favorite part of the show. Welcome to the hustle round. I'm going to ask you 10 quick fire questions. You'll have about 3 seconds to answer each. Don't overthink it. It's just for fun. Are you ready?
I think so. I hope so.
Do you see how fast I spoke there? Just to match the hustle. Okay. What's your favorite thing about being an entrepreneur and having this ability to systematize your time?
Creative output, that I can change my ideas and learn something and input it tomorrow.
Got it. What's your least favorite thing?
That I have a really mean boss and I've had to learn how to manage her because she'll make you work too many hours.
Is Kris Ward a slave driver to Kris Ward?
Kris Ward had to learn how to deal with Kris Ward a lot of years ago because as I've learned, I was working so many hours at one point that it wasn't permissible by law. So I'm like, you need to get it together. My passion, my ambition can get in my way. So I've had to learn how to put on the brakes. I'm a recovering rushaholic, so I'm much better now.
So let me ask you a revealing question. How many hours do you put into your business per week?
I'd say about 30.
About 30. Okay. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. For anyone out there who's putting in 80 hours plus, the Gary Vaynerchuk approach, what's it costing you in your life? What's it costing you in your marriage? What's it costing you with your kids? Like, is it really worth losing your relationships? Yeah. If you find yourself in that conversation, reach out to me. That's my zone of genius, is to help you restore those broken relationships, the things that really matter, right? And increase your income at the same time. Who doesn't want that? Kris, what are you most afraid of?
What am I most afraid of? Fear is a funny thing to me. If I'm afraid of it, I do it, especially like, why am I afraid of it? I don't think, okay, like I don't enjoy heights, but other than that, if I'm fearful of it, I need to address it and wonder, why am I in a position of fear? So I'm all about positivity, and I just really am hungry. After all I've been through, I'm just desperately hungry to be happy all the time. So if I'm thinking something that worries me, I think, oh, why am I coming from a position of fear? And I try to get out of that really quickly.
Got it. I believe we're all challenged or struggling with something at any given time in our life, which is part of being human. What are you currently, what's that area of focus personally or professionally that you're growing in right now and you're taking on?
I get a lot of praise, as you were kind enough to give me as well, for, I sent you a personalized video why I thought, thank you very much for letting me on your show, but I wanted the relationship to start off on a certain footing. And really, I want to have meaningful relationships with people that I connect with and sustain those relationships. So doing podcast interviews or sending somebody a video or networking, those are things that only I can do. As much as I systematize and delegate, I can't send somebody else in to be Kris when it is a personalized, I'm showing up. So right now I'm at my capacity with my coaching clients and being Kris at other events. So I'm trying to be creative of how not to diminish the connections, but there is only one Kris.
Got it. What did you spend too much time doing this past year?
Too much time doing this past year? I don't think, if I'm doing it, then it's not too much time. Oh my gosh, that's a tricky one. Too much time. I love bike riding, but I wouldn't say it's too much time. I've just moved and I learned how to paint because my husband used to do all that. In fact, he said I shouldn't even be in a room when somebody else is painting. So I'm really proud of myself. So I've learned to paint, and I don't know if that's too much time, but yeah, I guess I don't think I spend too much time on anything, because if I'm doing it, I enjoy it. If it's too much time and I think that, I shouldn't be doing it.
Fair enough. What secret fear do you have about people?
Secret fear about people. I don't think I have a lot. I think what I was shocked to find out for a long period of time is I always thought I didn't care what people think. Like if you didn't like me, I was totally okay with that. That's fine. I get it. I'm not for everybody. I was fine. But it took me a long time to understand that there was still something with social media. If you asked me to be a guest, a speaker at your event, great, I showed up. But when people are floating by on social media, for me to tug your sleeve and try to get your attention, I didn't understand that I had a fear, not a fear, I was uncomfortable pushing myself out there because I felt I wasn't invited. So I was more polished, presenting Kris, trying to be a, I don't know, grown up person instead of being the real me that you would get on a one-on-one. So I had to learn to let that go and just put yourself out there and try not to be presenting. So that, I guess, was some sort of founding fear of being judged, putting your message out there. And I didn't see that coming because I was fine with public speaking and stuff, but that social media thing is a different beast.
It really is. It pulls us all in. What do you wish you had learned sooner in your business?
Oh, I wish I had learned those first couple of years where, man, oh man, the lack of sleep. If you read my book, I almost seriously electrocuted myself one morning because I was in a rush. When your husband sits you down and asks you politely, kindly not to burn the house down because you throw something in the oven and you think you can answer just one more email. Like, not that I was a bad cook. I was just always like, oh, I'll just finish this email. I'm heating something up. I wish I had understood sooner that you're killing yourself and you're not helping the business. So the team building thing, as quickly as I learned it, sooner would have been better.
So good. What's a new habit you want to create in your life?
What's a new habit? My newest thing, here's my dark secret. I love exercising, working out, and my new place got a little gym in the basement. So I'm in Canada, so when it's not that warm outside, I get a really good workout. But I am learning to really think about something when I go to have a treat. My treats are healthy. I bake really healthy. I don't use sugar and all these things. So they're healthy treats, but they're still treats. So I learned to think, am I in alignment? Why am I going to have this treat? Do I just, what's this? Is it because I'm tired or I'm entertaining myself? Why are you going to have this? So I'm learning that, to think really carefully about what is motivating my desire.
That's a good thing. What's a bad habit you want to break?
I have bad cuticles and I pick up my nails. So I have to keep filing them constantly or else I start picking up my nails. And as my husband said, nobody wants to see a woman with bloody nails. Right? So that's been a lifelong journey, is keeping my nails clean. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you for that. That was very transparent.
Yes,
Pick 3 words to describe who you are now.
Positive, fun, and I like to learning. I'm all about learning.
Pick 3 words to describe who you were your first year in this business.
Oh, stressed out, exhausted, very high strung.
Got it. And last question, Kris, if you could come back to life, look your family and friends in the eye and give them only one piece of advice about everything, what would you say to them?
It's about the now. It's all about the now, not before, not the memories. It's the now. Your point of power is now.
Any final wisdom? What's the one thing you want my listener to know about making their first $100,000 this year?
That business should be fun. You had a job, you left it for a reason. Business should be fun.
Business should be fun, Startup Nation. All right, Kris, you got a book called Win the Hour, Win the Day. Why does my listener need to go grab that book off your site right this moment? What are they going to get out of it?
People tell me all the time that change their perception of business. So it's written very differently than anything out there. It's written from different stories of a struggler or a successful person, and neither have anything to do with money. So it really gives you some examples so you can self-diagnose. And so many people come to me and say, oh my gosh, I was making good money, I was doing all these things, and I'm so annoyed I'm a struggler. So it's a very easy read with apparently a lot of powerful insights that are very simple, practical things. I'm all about the now, stuff you can implement right now. So you can implement it right now. It's an easy read, and I think it will give you some enlightenment to how you manage yourself.
Awesome. And where does Startup Nation go to get in contact with you, pick up your book? What do you got for them?
The book's on Amazon. I'm on all the socials. Just reach out, tell me that you heard me on this fabulous podcast. You can also hop over to www.freegift, from Kris, KRIS.com, freegiftfromkris.com. And we always have goodies there for special people like you guys.
Kris Ward, thank you for being on your first 100K. I wish you God's love, peace, and joy in your life. Startup Nation, you cannot show up authentically in your business without building faith in your business. If you want to have that conversation on the faith side of things, go check out my other podcast called Broken Catholic. On that show, I interview all different guests about why the world isn't working right now, Plus, I tackle unspeakable topics that you may secretly struggle with, but won't admit. We gotta get your faith right to get your business right. Go to brokencatholic.com. I'm Joseph Warren, and you were made for greatness. So stop being a wuss and start being a winner. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you right back here next week.